Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Thank you for joining us today. Today we will be speaking about Apple forgot to mention the 6 things about iPhone. Please watch the entire video to figure out all the details. And guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and click the bell notification. Alright then, let's get started. The Worldwide Developers Conference, our #1 season, is close to the corner. Apple will hold the main feature of WWDC 22 on June 6th. There's a lot to anticipate from this occasion and more to want. First of all, the organization will undoubtedly reveal iOS 16, iPadOS 16, watchOS 9 and macOS 13. Following the featured discussion, we hope to get our hands on the primary designer betas of these operating frameworks. Last year, iOS 15 and macOS Monterey introduced a few interesting elements, including Focus, SharePlay, Safari improvements, and others. We've heard a few tales regarding iOS 16 upgrading Focus, improving warnings, and bringing augmentations to health. In any case, there's significantly more we believe that Apple should include across its operating frameworks. Apple last month introduced the 2022 iPhone SE, an overhauled form of its minimal expense cell phone. The gadget offers a reasonable passage point to the iPhone lineup with numerous significant elements. For example, a powerful A-series chip, an excellent camera with 4K video recording, haptic touch, remote charging, water and residue obstruction. From there, the sky is the limit. The ongoing model added the A15 Bionic chip from the iPhone 13, 5G availability and updated back camera with further developed computational photography abilities, battery duration and more grounded glass. Declared in March 2022, the iPhone SE is the most up-to-date iPhone in Apple's lineup and is from the get-go in its item cycle. Apple took about 3 years to refresh the original iPhone SE before the 2020 model was delivered, leaving 2 years before launching the ongoing model. While the third-age iPhone SE is still extremely new, there are early signs that another model is underway with a bigger display. Now is a decent opportunity to purchase the iPhone SE, and most clients shouldn't trust that another model will send off. The iPhone SE is Apple's most inexpensive iPhone. However, for economic clients looking for a gadget with more to offer, the iPhone 11 begins at $499 and iPhone 12 mini begins at $599. The iPhone 11 offers a bigger display with an all-screen design, Face ID, a better forward-looking camera, a back ultra-wide camera, and night mode for this additional expense. At the same time, the iPhone 12 mini adds a more current design, an OLED display, and the sky is the limit from there. Notwithstanding, the 2022 iPhone SE seems indistinguishable from the 2020 model, featuring just internal redesigns, and it is ostensibly Apple's most dreary iPhone. Others probably won't often think so much since the smaller structure component of the gadget is more significant for them. You should know the highlights you will not get on the iPhone SE when contrasted with any semblance of the iPhone 13, iPhone 13 Pro, and older iPhones. Here are the 6 things that Apple neglected to refer to about the iPhone. Number 1. Biometrics. Assuming that you've seen the 2020 iPhone SE, you've seen the 2022 rendition. Apple has not made any outside updates. It seems to be the iPhone 8 that was introduced in 2017. This 5-year-old design includes a thick top and base bezel alongside a Touch ID home button. It's the last iPhone to continue to utilize Touch ID, as Apple has progressed to Face ID until the end of the lineup. The arrival of the home button and Touch ID is an undisputed win to some. There are the people who have never gotten acclimated to using Face ID and swiping up from the lower part of the display to get back to the home screen, or who might be unwilling to roll out that improvement from their existing, presently ages-old iPhone. However, it includes some major disadvantages. The display is fundamentally a lot more modest. Corresponding to the size of the telephone, it's still 4.7 inches, though an iPhone 12 mini figures out how to fit a 5.4-inch display in a more subtle body unequivocally because the display can stretch to the edges of the gadget. Number 2. Old design. Apple didn't invest an excess of energy thinking about new varieties for the iPhone SE. It comes in Starlight, practically indistinguishable from the past silver, which is relatively close to the earlier dark tone, and Product Red, which was likewise accessible for the 2020 model. Apple got tough glass, yet glass will be glass. It will break when dropped onto hard surfaces, which is a low motivation to overhaul. The third-age iPhone SE has a similar design as the second-age model. In other words, it's a similar body to the iPhone 8. It has similarly adjusted edges, enormous bezels above and beneath the display, a home button with Touch ID, and a single camera on the back alongside a single FaceTime camera on the front. There is no super wide or fax camera and no Face ID. Number 3. Need speedy A15 inside. The new iPhone SE is furnished with the most recent A15 chip, an update over the A13. However, telling a distinction as far as everyday usage is hard. Applications and games perform about something similar. Yet, the A15 chip will affect quite a while from this point as Apple grows new variants of iOS and new elements that require processing power. As Apple generally does with the iPhone SE, it has given spending plan clients its most developed processor, the A15. In particular, this is a similar form to the A15 highlights in the iPhone 13, and you can learn about its presence in our iPhone 13 audit. The iPhone 13 Pro has a form of the 15 with 5 GPU centers instead of 4. The third-gen iPhone SE begins with a minimum of 64 GB of stockpiling, with 128 GB and 256 GB choices accessible. The A15 holds the cost of several advantages over the A13, the second-age iPhone, past basically CPU and GPU speed or capacity limits. It has a considerably more impressive picture processor, so you will take better photographs. In contrast, the camera specs and optics haven't transformed. It's still an f/1.8 12-megapixel back camera and f/2.2 7-megapixel front camera and recordings. The neural engine is liable for accelerating machine learning, and AI code is over 2 times just that quick in the A13. The processor is more effective. Apple says this prompts considerably longer battery duration alongside other developed battery science. The second-gen iPhone SE would surrender you to 13 hours of video playback and 8 hours streamed. Those numbers are presented as long as 15 hours and 10 hours. Number 4. Need better camera. A single focal point 12-megapixel back camera has refreshed highlights like Smart HDR4 and photographic styles fueled by the A15 while looking at photographs from the 2020 and 2022 iPhone SE models, one next to the other. There's little distinction in quality. Battery duration is additional about the equivalent. What's missing from the iPhone SE notwithstanding is night mode, a component since the iPhone 11. Night mode offers an emotional improvement in low-light photographs. Apple could add it in a later programming update, yet that is impossible. Number 5. 5G. The other significant contrast between the 2020 iPhone SE and the updated model is supporting sub-6 GHz 5G networks. 5G is still in its infancy, so 5G help is significant for future-proofing. The new SE doesn't uphold the quickest mmWave 5G velocities that are, for the most part, restricted to additional metropolitan regions. However, it takes care of business with the more extensive spread sub-6 GHz groups that will grow worldwide in the coming years. You ought to realize that the iPhone SE doesn't uphold mmWave 5G frequencies. Those are the short-range, 1 square or somewhere in the vicinity, super quick, over a gigabit each second frequencies new to the 5G determination. Rather, it upholds just the sub-6 GHz frequencies utilized by LTE networks. However, 5G on sub-6 GHz networks ordinarily conveys much better execution and unwavering quality than LTE, particularly close to the edge of cells. Number 6. Slight increase in price. The second-age iPhone SE began at $399. As with the other 5G iPhones, that starting price has hopped from $30 to $249. You will have the option to pre-request the telephone on Friday, March 11th, and it will deliver and accessible in store 7 days after the fact on March 18th. However, the new iPhone SE is indistinguishable from the 2-year-old model it replaces with 2 more up-to-date processors and everything that shows up with it. Its elements will miss the mask for those looking for the best-in-class. Its elements will miss the mark for those looking for the best-in-class iPhone. Yet, those worried about price and lifespan will be excited, which is a significant market. According to Apple enthusiasts, who anticipate the best-in-class every year, the iPhone SE is a disappointing telephone. Yet, that is not who it's for. Apple made the iPhone SE for individuals who couldn't care less about telephones, the people who need a cell phone that is quick, basic, dependable, and in particular, modest. At $429, the iPhone SE is more costly than the earlier age model. Yet it ought to descend in price with different transporter limits and arrangements in a half year or thereabouts. It's the go-to telephone for individuals upgrading from an iPhone 6, iPhone 7, or iPhone 8, since it's natural and will continue for many years. Well, that's all we have today. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.